In the last video, I talked about the structure of a basic 12-bar blues, the chords that we use, a simple left-hand accompaniment, and the use of passing chords. In this video, I want to build on that by showing how we can also use chromatic approach notes and descending arpeggios to create nice blues licks. So, a chromatic approach note, well, you can approach any chord note from the note one semitone below. For instance, if you have a C major chord, you could approach the C from B, a semitone below, the E from D sharp, and the G from F sharp. You can use pairs of chromatic approach notes, for instance. Let's see how we can adapt a simple pattern from the first video and add some chromatic approach notes. This is the pattern. Now add a pair of chromatic approach notes. You notice that I'm accenting the chromatic approach notes. 1, 2, 3. You can also use the pattern in the right hand where I go up to the 5th and 7th. So you can create interesting patterns by playing the right hand in triplets like this. Now, that sounds particularly effective an octave higher like this. When you're practicing something like that, practice very slowly, one beat at a time. So try this. Really slowly, take your hands away and think to yourself the rhythm. 1 and 2. And then play it quickly. Now if it doesn't work, if you have a little train crash, play the wrong notes, take your hands away, play it again, slowly. Hands away, that bit's really important. You've got to think it through before you play 1 and 2. Okay, so then add the next beat, slowly. Hands away, think 1 and 2 and 3. And just keep going, adding one beat at a time. Remember, if it doesn't work, if you stumble, take your hands away, think it through, play it slowly again, and then try it again at a faster speed. Now we're going to use some descending arpeggios in the right hand. Let's go back to the pattern where the right hand goes up to the 5th and the 7th, and we're going to add a little descending arpeggio to that pattern. So what I'm doing there is, when I'm getting onto the 5th and the 7th, I'm playing B flat, G, C, that's the 7th, the 5th and the root. And then the chromatic approach note. Once again, when you're practicing this, slowly, step by step, one beat at a time. Now we can use the Mixolydian triads that I talked about in the last video and include this descending arpeggio in the right hand. So we're going to use this pattern. Remember, all these triads in the right hand are derived from the Mixolydian mode. Now let's add the descending arpeggio. There's just a slight different from the previous pattern. That's when I get to that chord, I'm playing the descending arpeggio B flat G, but I'm not going down to C, I'm going to D. That's because the Mixolydian triad I was on there was that one. That triad on its own is actually a G minor chord. If you want to think of the D in terms of what it is in a C7 chord, it's actually the 9th. That's a C7 chord, the root, 3rd, 5th, 7th, and the D is the 9th. So. You notice I'm adding some crush notes in there. Now we come to what's sometimes called a crossover lick. So let's have a look what's happening here. Well, first of all, I'm approaching the 3rd of the C chord from a semitone below. Then I'm playing a little arpeggio. That's just the notes of a C major triad, E, C, G. 3rd, root, 5th. Then I'm going to F and C in the right hand, which is part of the passing F chord, down to C, and then little crush note approaching the E and the G. Again, when you're practicing this, do it really slowly. Always think that rhythm, dum, dum. You can continue with that using one of the other previous patterns. Now we're going to slightly vary that, that crossover lick, because we're going to do this. We're going to go up to the passing chord, then down to the 2 chromatic approach notes, then the arpeggio. So you can vary that, you can, or that's all for this video. In the next video, I'm going to talk about the use of blues scales and blues licks derived from the blues scales.